It's the Flying Dutchman and Carrie, Chong with you on the morning drive. And today we're really happy to have with us here in the studio Cherie Lok, who is from the Straits Times. Good morning to you.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Cherie, you decided to deal with fine dining and hawker cuisine. What made you explore the intersection between fine dining and hawker cuisine?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most immediately obvious overlap in the food world, but a couple of months ago, I was dining at this restaurant called Labyrinth. It has 1 Michelin star. It's in the Esplanade. And I was coming off, I think, a few months of talking about hawker food, and as usual, debates were raging around how much should we pay for hawker food. And I was sitting there eating my $300 chicken rice, char kway teow.
$300 to enjoy hawker food at this place called Labyrinth.
Yeah,
right?
well, technically, they don't want you to call it hawker food, but it's food inspired by Singapore's heritage. It's on paper, it's similar to what you would find in a hawker centre. So that sort of piqued my interest a bit. I was like, oh, okay. It's interesting to see these different layers of Singaporean food, because on one hand you have the regular food you will find in a hawker centre, which people seemingly don't even want to pay 50 cents more for these days.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like a place like Labyrinth is still going strong. So, I was wondering, is there a story there? What's the deal? What's happening with this?
So I want to know, is it worth the $300?
Yeah, actually, I would say it is. Yeah.
Really?
Okay,
what kind of food can we expect from this place?
So you get like the char kway teow I mentioned.
Yeah.
It's Singaporean food with a twist, obviously. So for instance, the char kway teow is made with fish maw instead of kway teow. There is a bak kut teh broth, which is very light, very delicate, very
Clean
different,
tasting.
very clean. Yeah, it's quite different from the hearty soup, very peppery, what you would find in say Song Fa or any of the bak kut teh chains around the island. So it's stuff like that, but it will surprise you. So I think for that, for the experience of sort of getting to know Singapore food from like a different perspective, from a different entry point, I did learn something. I learned about the existence of Siglap Laksa. And
You did not know Siglap Laksa.
Wait. What is this Siglap Laksa? I'm an Eastie. I don't know Siglap Laksa. Tell me.
Okay, these are just traditions in Singapore. There's certain places you go to get certain things.
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Katong Laksa, I know lah. Siglap Laksa.
Well, Siglap Laksa is actually quite different from regular laksa.
Oh.
So it's not just laksa made in Siglap, but it tastes different.
It does.
Yeah, it's a bit tartar, more sourish.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can only get this Siglap Laksa at Labyrinth now?
Well, I think you can get it elsewhere, but part of the idea for this new menu is that they wanted to revive some of these forgotten food traditions. So there was a lot of thought that went into it. But okay, I do have to sort of qualify that I think for it to be worth it, you have to be the kind of person who's already willing to pay for a Michelin star meal.
Yeah.
Or the kind of person who's willing to part like $200. Like, don't go in there expecting to feel the way you would in a hawker center, because then you would be like, oh yeah, I mean, I can fill my stomach for $10. Like, why am I here?
Yeah, no, there's
True.
also, at Labyrinth itself, I mean, at any fine dining restaurant, there's the service, there's the ambiance you're paying for, not just the food and the ingredients, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep this conversation going on Facebook. So join us on Facebook as we go live, and we'll keep this conversation going. Is this really what it's all about? $300 hawker food.
Enjoy the ride.
Okay. So we're on Facebook Live right now. The article actually highlights the push to elevate local dishes to fine dining status. Do you think Singaporeans are open or ready to paying a premium?
I think so. Well, okay, don't take it from me. The chefs I was speaking to say that, increasingly they think they've seen growing acceptance of Singaporean food in a context that's not like a hawker center or kopitiam. I think in general, fine dining is a bit hampered by reluctance among diners to pay $300 for a meal.
Yeah.
But mid-market at least, we're seeing Singaporeans forking out for Coconut Club, which is
exactly.
$20 So I think there's this, Singaporeans are sophisticated diners, right? They know that Singaporean food is worth something. It's worth paying for. So I think, we're moving in hopefully a direction.
I think also we need to qualify that this $300 meal you're talking about is not like 3 courses, 4 courses.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. It's what, 13?
13, I think.
So it's
yeah.
it's about 12, 13. So you're getting a dozen, maybe more dishes for $300. And you know, I would try this. I may not be a regular, but
Yeah.
I would try this.
That's the thing, right? People would try it once, but would there be return customers, right? Because it's like, okay, been there, done that.
Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. If you get the ambience right, you get the service right, you get the food right, I'll try it once. The next time I need to entertain, that's where I go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the restaurant is looking at. Not that you are going to come back over and over and over and over again to feed yourself, but you are going to introduce other people to them.
Yeah. That's sort of the advantage that Singaporean restaurants have, because when you're looking to bring your friends, especially your business associates who are visiting for the first time, you want to impress them, you want to give them a taste of what Singapore food is like. That's where you bring them.
Yeah.
Okay, some chefs have faced backlash for premiumizing. Is there such a word? Premiumizing hawker fare. In your research, did you find any particular arguments for or against this trend that stood out?
Well, I guess like the argument against, I'm not sure how legitimate it is, but it's a very knee-jerk reaction that I think you have when you hear $300 hawker food. You're like, who would pay for that? So I think that was what some of the chefs were saying, that they were facing, that some of the people who came, they sort of accused them of, being no different from a hawker center. And I think there's this sense among some Singaporeans that you're getting scammed if you go for an experience like this. Well, the argument on the other hand is that, you're not just paying for the food, you're paying for the experience. Like you mentioned, the ambience, the mood, the service, the menu itself. I mean, there's so much thought that goes into it. And, in a hawker center, each stallholder specializes in maybe one type of cuisine or one dish. But here they've had to sort of become experts, so to speak, in all these different types of hawker food. So that takes a lot of hours, that takes a lot of research. So in that sense,
I think when we talk about premiumizing, it's also like we always see the French or the European or the Japanese techniques or food as more elevated. And thus, people would pay a premium for it. But we don't see local food at that level.
But the French, the Italians, and the Japanese had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Sushi wasn't always, Michelin starred.
True. It wasn't always
honest.
sexy.
Yeah.
Right?
And to say Singapore food, as you mentioned, isn't sexy. To say Singapore food isn't sexy, you give me a plate of laksa and you give me a spoonful of pasta. Hey, the laksa looks better, tastes better. To me, it's sexier than a spoonful of pasta. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I think, as Singaporeans, we've always had a bit of this inferiority complex.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to food, which is weird because we are so proud of our food at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, many fine dining chefs, like I said, incorporating European or Japanese techniques, right, into these Singapore-inspired menus. Do you think it's necessary, or can local food, local influences stand on its own? Do you need all that foam and that like
laksa foam?
yeah, the molecular gastronomy and all that to make it to sell the menu?
Well, I think diners are sort of they're not so hot on all those bells and whistles anymore. So I think full molecular gastronomy, that's not going to impress them. But I do think that they still value what they think of as high quality ingredients. So fish from Japan, your pork from Europe, your beef from, I don't know, anywhere in the world. That's still going to help you sell your menu, especially if you're going to price it at a much higher price than a normal restaurant or a hawker center. You sort of need to distinguish yourself through this like so-called premium produce. So in that sense, and a lot of what's associated with value and high quality in the mind of a lot of Singaporeans is still like Japanese or French. Yeah.
Do you think this is a passing phase? Do you think it's going to last? And for it to last, are a lot more people going to have to start doing this?
As in Singaporean food?
Singaporean food at that kind of pricing?
Well, Labyrinth has been in business for about 10 years now. So, and Well, I think more restaurants are sort of joining them, serving Southeast Asian Singaporean food at higher prices. I'm not sure if it will continue to head in that direction because, I mean, like we were saying, fine dining in general is having a bit of a moment of reckoning right now. So I think we might see more like mid-range Singaporean food or like casual fine type Singaporean food.
Okay.
But fine, $500. Maybe not so much.
I think a lot of people forget that, within which there's also how much it takes to prepare a dish, right? It's very intricate to make the flavors more complex. Right?
Of course.
And then also while staying true to the heritage of this dish. With the rising costs, and obviously shifting diner preferences, many fine dining restaurants kind of are pivoting to casual concepts. Do you realize that? You think it's because they are trying to fill the gap, like, in between, because fine dining is like kind of in a slums now. Casual, concepts.
Yeah. I mean, so I think casual concepts, there are different ways you can do this. So some restaurants, they introduce a la carte menus like Fizz, which serves Southeast Asian food.
Right.
And then you have LG Han, who runs Labyrinth, who started a separate chain altogether focusing on Ha Cheong Gai. It's a kiosk, so you can find it in Bishan, you can find it in Vivo City, but that's like separate from what he's doing at Labyrinth. So I think there are many ways that these chefs are sort of exploring how they can get into the fine dining scene, the casual dining scene, and how that sort of tallies with what they're already doing.
Yeah, like William Loh, who's he's into pasta right now. So there's a pastaro place, which I haven't tried, by the way.
No, I haven't tried
I
it.
have. It's not bad.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now go.
Yeah, you should get a carbonara.
All right.
All right, we're going to go back on air and talk more to Cherie. Cherie is from the Straits Times, an article coming out this weekend, right? On fine dining hawker cuisine, $300 a pop. So stay with us. The Course here on 1FM 91.3 in radio, which is what we do every single day, the Flying Dutchman and Carrie, Chong. And today we're joined by Cherie Lok from the Straits Times, an article that will be published this weekend, $300 hawker cuisine.
Love it.
Which is very interesting to say the least. I've got, Nick, who says, no bloody way. For that amount, I could enjoy the real deal for days.
No, but you see, this is the point. Is this not the real deal? This is the real deal. You're just experiencing the real deal in a different atmosphere.
You know what? I also think that people think of hawker food as this a heritage thing. Like it's passed down from, it must be the old uncle frying the char kway teow. Cannot be like this young chef who doesn't have that.
And you see, this
heritage.
is the big worry even with our hawker food here. If the young do not come in and do this, then where is our hawker heritage going to go? The UN can say whatever it wants and give us all kinds of accreditations.
Yes.
But if the young don't take over, where are we going to go? What was the most surprising thing you learnt when you were working on this story?
Well, I think one of the things that I was surprised by was, just how different the food in this $300 meal tasted from what I was already familiar with. So I think I did go in with some of my internalized biases. I mean, like Nick, I was like, I mean, how much better can this be from what I've already experienced? And it really was. I mean, it felt like something new. It was unexpected. I thought it was quite surprising. And I think I was quite, over the course of speaking to chefs for this story, I was quite touched, I guess, to see how many of them felt so strongly about needing to promote Singaporean food, about needing to return to their roots after some of them had been working abroad, some of them had been working in other types of restaurants, and they were like, if we don't go back to our roots and cook Singaporean food, then who's going to do that? I was like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If, our listeners wanted to experience fine dining cuisine or Singaporean cuisine for the first time, but they're hesitant, what would you say? What would you say to, tip them over the edge based on your experience dining at Labyrinth, or anything that you would recommend? Yeah.
I think go in with an open mind. So, like we were saying just now, don't go in expecting to find what you would find in a hawker center. I think go in expecting to learn more about Singaporean food and to sort of let the chef take you on this culinary journey of exploring heritage, of seeing how Singaporean food could be pushed to its limits, could be pushed in different directions. But also be immensely prepared that this is going to be a very expensive meal.
Yeah. Well, I think try it this way. This is this once treat. Try it as a treat. Experience it that way. And if everything that Cherie says falls into place, then you're going to have a super time and a great meal.
Yeah, just go with an open mind. Here's the thing. Do you think that if on the menu, we sexify it, instead of calling it chicken rice?
Okay, what would we call it if I say chicken rice, what would you call it?
Riso poulet.
Riso poulet? Would that work? We call it riso poulet with very sexy.
And what about, like chili crab?
Grancio al peperoncino.
Does it work?
Sid.
Does it work?
We'll make you feel better, like, it's so
closer
fancy.
to the $300.
So bougie. I will pay for it.
You guys should do a poll on that.
We should. Should we sexify the names of local food? Cherie, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. It was a great time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the article is going to be out this weekend on the Straits Times. $300 hawker cuisine, fine dining at its finest. Look out for that.
Because coffee is never enough. The Morning Drive, weekdays from 6 till 10 on FM 91.